you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Christina, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you our August homeschool plans. Now for us, homeschool and life are blended together, so you'll hear things about curriculum but also just things about life that we'll be doing, things we have coming up. And this is really exciting for me to be jumping back into these videos again. This is kind of a series that I started about a year ago. I think maybe August was the first time I did it last year, maybe September, sharing like a monthly recap and goals looking ahead and plans for the upcoming month. And so I wanted to jump back into that for August. It's just kind of like a way to reset and restart. Last week I kind of shared like a mid-summer update and recap and what our summer has been looking like both in homeschool and life. So there's not a ton to recap other than the fact that like we did just get back from a week in the Adirondacks, so I'll share a little bit about that. And I'm going to be sharing some new things that we're trying out that we have like are brand new to us that we haven't tried before. Most of those things are from the Waldock Way. If you're not familiar with Jess from the Waldock Way, she is here on YouTube, and also you can find her over on Instagram. So I will link her down below. I'm going to be sharing with you things that we are going to be using from her in August, and then just like moving forward in the future, because I printed a few things that we are going to try out. I just printed today my brand new homeschool planner. It's the same one. I know I'll get these questions. So it is the same one that I used last year from For the Love of Homeschooling, but this is just the updated one for July 2023 to June 2024. And if you guys want to know more about how I use the planner, how I plan in general, let me know, and maybe I'll do an updated planning video, like how I plan. I'm pretty sure I did one last year in the beginning of the school year, but if you guys want me to, I can do that again. In the meantime, you could always go back. I think there's one from last year. But anyways, you could totally just send this to someone to print. So I use Pure and Simple Printing for all of my homeschool printing that I don't do myself, printing and binding. And they're always linked in the description box below. She's another homeschool mom, so definitely check her out if you want to use a print service. But what I actually like to do with my planner, I don't like to have a huge bulky planner, because I oftentimes when I'm going somewhere will like throw it in my bag or something like that. And so I print a few months at a time. So I printed August, September, and October, and I have a binding machine, so I just quickly zip this out and add more pages when I need to. I like to be able to like customize as I go, which is why I like to purchase a digital planner. Just pay attention when you're printing. If you're like adding pages in a certain spot, or you're not printing certain pages, because I've done this, make sure that like, for example, your month spread page, the start of the month for the month view needs to be on the back, if that makes sense. Otherwise you'll have like the front of the month, or like the first half of the month on the front, and then anyway, you won't have the full page spread. So my advice is just pay attention to that for the month, and also like the weekly spread. If you want to know more about how I plan and how I use this planner, let me know in the comments, and then I will link this because I know people will ask. Anyways, I got my planner ready to go. I have my wish list for August. If you've watched these videos in the past, you know that I always have my wish list and then the reality. I did not fill in the reality part of it, but I did fill in my wish list. And that is what I will talk through with you guys, kind of like my wish list. This is like brain dumping to me, like everything that I want to get to, or hopefully get to, or possibly get to, gets listed out, and then I kind of go from there. So it gets everything out of my brain into a list, and I just find that helpful. So the first thing that I want to share with you are resources, curriculum resources that are brand new to us. And these are the ones that I got from Jess at the Waldock Way. So one of the things that we are definitely going to start in August is the survival unit study. If you're not familiar with the Waldock Way, Jess is a homeschooling mom of one, and she shares here on YouTube and also over on Instagram about her homeschooling journey, but she also creates amazing homeschooling resources. And one thing that I've noticed is that they are very comprehensive, but also really fun. So like, they're not boring, they're hands-on, they're meant to be used family style if you have more than one child. They're a unit study approach. and they have links to videos and recipes, and they are literature based, so they bring in books. This survival unit study uses the Bear Grylls books. I'm really excited because we haven't read those books. I don't know how long this is going to take us. I don't have it mapped out, but I do know that we are going to start it. I'm going to get the first book. I'm going to see if my library has it, and then if they don't, I'm just going to purchase it, and then we're going to go from there and see how we like it. So I'll show you the table of contents, and then it is so well organized. So you have the required resources, which is the 12 book set, the Bear Grylls Complete Adventures. Then you have suggested resources, videos, books, games. Then you have videos and additional activities like links to Pinterest boards. Then you have an introduction to survival. Then you learn about famous survivalist Bear Grylls, which I'm really excited about. And then you have challenge 1. So these are your lesson plans broken up over 5 days. You have the book, then the survival handbook pages, and then the week 1 YouTube list, which is linked with this QR code right here. So this is one of the books. This is everything planned out for you for the first book. What I did, just to share with you how I printed it, is I printed just what I would need. So almost like a teacher's manual. Now, some of her units are broken up that way, and some of them have like the activity pages right included in the same file. So in this one, they were included. But what I decided to do was print and bind sort of like my teacher's guide, and then to print the activity pages separate. So like there's this coloring page, which will be fun for my younger kids. And then there's this biography page. These are in the beginning of the unit. And then these 2 pages repeat throughout each survival challenge. So pack your backpack for your current challenge by drawing or writing the items you think you will need. This will be really fun, especially like for pre-writers if you want to include younger kids, or if just you have a kid who would prefer to draw other than write, even if they're older. That's a really cool way. And then tips I learned for surviving a blizzard. So there'll be tips I learned for surviving blank, whatever that particular book focuses on. And then there's also an entire PDF, I think it's like 50 pages of survival tips on all different categories. So I will be printing that as well. And I think that's going to be a really cool thing to bring to just when we go out on adventures, because we have a lot of camping coming up in August, which is also part of the reason why I chose survival. And just to bring it along to be something for them to read in the car, something when we're just hanging around the campground and kind of relaxing. It would be a cool thing to read that also connects with sort of what we're doing, kind of the outdoors and survival and all of that. So I plan to print that before we go on our next adventure, which is in 2 weeks. So we have a handful of camping trips coming up in August. So survival and camping and the outdoors is very much our focus for the month of August, and then also leading into September and even October. But I'll talk more about those months when we get there. So a lot of the homeschooling that we are doing during the month of August has to do with travel, and I've really been thinking so much about travel schooling. When we were driving up to the Adirondacks last week, I brought my July Wild and Free magazine with me because I hadn't read it yet. So as I'm flipping through, I see this article on travel schooling, and I was like, well, this is appropriate. When we are going away, I don't think of it like an educational field trip in a sense that like that's the only reason we're going, but I understand that there is a ton of rich learning that naturally takes place, but then if you're even a little bit more intentional, even more learning can take place. I really did not bring a ton of things for them to do. It was not like we're not doing any learning this week because we're on summer vacation. We really don't have a start date and a stop date for our school year. We have in some of the previous years, but we did not have an end date this past school year, and we do not have a start date this upcoming school year. So like at some point I will decide, like I guess you guys are officially the next grade level. So we will get there. Probably in September, but what I did bring was really intentional. Last week when we went to the Adirondacks, we stayed in a cabin and it was absolutely beautiful. I brought this My Camping Journal for my 8-year-old. Now I did not bring this for my 12 and 15-year-olds. I will share with you what I brought for them in just a minute, but I created this for the mega bundle that is currently for sale. It's only for sale for another 2 days. So if you're interested in getting it, it is an upper elementary mega bundle, which is the first time we've had one of those. And so I created this My Camping Journal for that. This is a customizable journal. There are 4 different cover options, and then you can customize which pages you want to use. So I brought this for my 8-year-old, and these are almost like stickers, but you cut and paste them. They're almost like pins, and then there's a mat for them to be able to glue them on, which we didn't do this part yet, but we will. And then there are these sort of like zoomed in versions of different regions of the US, so that if you are not traveling all over the US or camping all over, but you're staying like we are, mostly in and around your home state, then you'll have more space to either use the pins or even just write them in. You could even just have them write the location on the map, and that's a cool way to do it too. And then there are a variety of different pages you can choose to use or not use. So I'll just show you a few of those. So my camping plans, just like what they're looking forward to or not looking forward to with camping. These are for doing camping research. So there are some recommended books in this unit that you can use if you're like somewhat new to camping. There are packing lists and a camping log so that they can log the different places they've camped. There's these nature journaling pages for while they're camping. And here's another version of that she didn't use yet. And then those are intended to be used either separately or as a different option than writing a journal entry, or they can be used to kind of prepare them to write a journal entry without really telling them they're brainstorming. But when they go to write their journal, if they're stuck, you can say things like, well, what did you put for what animals you've seen and what plants and what you observed and what you heard. Then I'm really excited about this. We are going to do this week, and I think I'm going to have my older boys do this too. So I didn't create a journal for them. I may actually do that. It'll probably look a little bit different for them because they're a little bit older, but this I actually think would be really cool for them as well. And this is writing a review. So it has them do an intro, the pros, the cons, and the conclusion. And this is kind of the instruction page for them, talking about like the difference between fact and opinion. And then there's the blank template for them to actually write their review. Just like everything else is optional, there's this optional scripture copywork in the back. And so this camping journal is exclusive to the mega bundle currently, but as soon as the mega bundle is over, just like my other resources, they go up on my Etsy shop to be able to purchase them separately. So if you're watching this after August 2nd and you want the camping journal, you'll find it on my Etsy shop. And my Etsy shop is always linked down below. The camping journal will come with us on our adventures. The survival guide will come with us on our adventures, the one that I did not print yet. And then this one is one we'll start before our next camping adventure, and we'll be doing it kind of on and off throughout the month, and then probably moving forward from there as well, because I assume that my kids are really going to like that. Going along with travel schooling, I also downloaded the Traveling the States unit study that she has. And I love that these are so comprehensive and they're already planned out for you, but you can always customize them and use them the way you want to. And so what I've printed out, first I'll show you kind of how it's set up. So you have the states in alphabetical order. Then you have the required resources, which is the 50 States Explore the USA book, and then Eat Your Way Through the USA, and then suggested resources, games, hands-on activities. And then these are the states in order of statehood. Then there's the Traveling the States checklist, like the things that you'll do for each state. The lesson plan checklist. And what I really thought was cool about this unit is that you have lesson plans for whether you want to do a state in 2 days, whether you want to do it in 3 days, or whether you want to do it in 4 days. So I really love that. So for people who are like, I need it planned out for me, you have 3 different options for how to do that. Or the 5th option is you do it in the way you want to do it. You have your lesson plans for each state. So the required book, and then the suggested books, and then the QR code for the YouTube playlist. And so I'm really excited to have videos for these different things that are pre-selected, so it saves me time that I don't have to go and find them, and also don't just click on something that I don't know if it's appropriate or not. And so I'm really excited to be able to include some videos, even though we're like very low screen. I'm fairly anti-screen. I do like with stuff like this, like say it's a state that I know we're not likely to go visit ever or anytime soon, seeing videos of that actual place I think are really fun and helpful. So I'm excited about that. So that is the teacher's manual, and then there's the student notebook, and I want to show you what I've printed and how I actually plan to use this in the next month or so. So you have like the cover, and obviously you could just print and bind or have print and bound both of these and just have it all and not print as you go, but I'm going to be printing as I go because I don't necessarily plan on doing all 50 states, and if I do, it's not going to be anytime soon. So there's the map your travel. So as you travel to the different states, color them in on the map below. I really love this idea. It's kind of like what's in my camping journal. And so at first I was like, we don't need to do New York. We live in New York. We're all over the place in New York. But I was like, you know what, we are, especially for my 8-year-old. She hasn't learned as much about New York, so it can't hurt. I am sure we'll learn new things. And I can't wait to grab the books that are on the suggested reading list because we haven't read those yet. So I'm really excited about that. So this really cool coloring page that I know my 8-year-old will love. I'm sure my 3-year-old and my 4-year-old will want this. And then there's the flag profile. Like we haven't really gone over the New York flag much, so that will be fun. The state profile. Then there's the nature profile. So there are multiple files for the traveling the state. So there's a teacher's manual, the student workbook, and then there's like the nature study one, and then there's the games. So all of them have these original games included with the units, but then they also have like suggested games that are not necessarily created for the unit. So I like that as well. So I have New York because we live in New York and we're doing a lot of traveling within our state in the next month or so. Then I did New Hampshire because we traveled to New Hampshire last month. And I feel like we did do some learning about it. So something that I do with kind of like this travel schooling style that we're doing is I'll just get a bunch of books from the library about where we're going, and I just put them out on my table, and for a week or maybe a couple of days or whatever it is, I will just let them explore the book. And I did the same thing for New Hampshire, but we didn't dig in too much. So I thought this would be a great way to circle back around to New Hampshire. So I printed the pages for New Hampshire. I haven't decided yet if we're all going to do them or if I'm gonna put a few different states out and let them choose which one they wanna do, because that's another really great way to do it. So all of those pages for New Hampshire are there. And then Maine, as I mentioned, so we'll circle back around and do Maine. The only other state I printed was Tennessee, and that is because I am going to Tennessee to the Wild and Free Conference in September. And although they're not going there, I actually thought it would be cool for us to learn about the state of Tennessee together, just to know like where I am and what it's like there and all of those things. Okay, so that is the traveling the states. And then I also grabbed the traveling the parks. And this is all about the national parks, and it is all of them. And I'm really excited about it because we went to Acadia and we did a lot of reading about Acadia. And again, I feel like it would be really cool to circle back around and learn about Acadia through this unit study. This I thought was really cool, traveling expenses. So I love the idea of them learning math and real life skills when we're homeschooling. Like that's kind of the point, right? Or at least for me, it should be. I'm sure you can homeschool very close to like what traditional school is like and still not focus on these skills. So I loved seeing this inclusion because they calculate the expense for traveling each of the parks from where they live. Then there's the map your route to Acadia. So I thought that was really cool. So we can kind of track the route that we took on here. Then the park in numbers. So this is where like the area covered, the highest point, the miles of shoreline, miles to travel to the park, number of days to travel, and total cost to travel. So even though this is more of like a planning intention, we'll do it as like a way to circle back around and reflect. And then there's this travel journal, and then the animal profile. So I thought that would be really cool. I'll also have these available so that when they're doing more like self-directed learning, I'll let them know. Like if there is a national park that you really want to learn about, let me know and I'll print the pages for you. This one I have more long-term use in mind. Like visiting more national parks is kind of like a longer term goal for us. Like we did Acadia this summer. Next summer, we really want to try to make it to Shenandoah National Park. And so I'm sure leading up to that, we will do the Shenandoah part of this unit study. So it's something that we're going to start fairly soon, but not necessarily use all throughout the school year. Maybe we will, but that's not the plan as of right now. I think it's cool though that you could do 1 or 2 a week throughout the whole entire school year. And then there's the teacher's manual. And so it lists the national parks, the required resources, suggested resources, books, activities, games, and shows. And then you have your checklist, your weekly lesson plan checklist, and then the lesson plans themselves. So Acadia is here with the required book, the suggested reading, and then there's also the QR code to follow. This was really cool. This is to make like a brochure. That's something I actually think would be really cool for my kids to do, or any of them that are interested in doing that. And then there is also like further research. So if they wanted to research it more, they have a place to capture that learning. I plan to do this notebook style, which is something I probably should have mentioned also with the survival unit study and the pages that they'll do. I plan to do it notebook style. So I'm not gonna print their student notebooks, and I'm gonna print everything that they would be using and writing on single-sided, because then they will just paste it in their notebook. We do a lot of notebooking for unit studies so that we don't have, because we use so many different resources and we like it that way, if we use notebooking for a lot of them, it means they don't have like 10 different student notebooks that they're keeping track of, because with 5 kids, that would just get crazy. So that is how we plan to use the traveling the parks. Now, I also have, I wasn't going to get it because I have my national park journal that I created, but I actually think they pair together really nicely, because this has like the guided learning, and my journal that I created is more just like a place to capture your learning and to capture your experience if and when you go to the park. So I feel like those can go together really well. And if you're interested in that, that is linked down in the description box in my Etsy. Just one more thing that I want to share with you that we will be using from the Waldock Way, which we won't necessarily get to in August. It is something that we will be using and I have printed and will go along with some of the things that we're learning. And she has a ton of Who Was mini unit studies to go along with the Who Was books. And this one, the Theodore Roosevelt one, is actually included in the Traveling the Parks unit study, which I thought was really cool. So they have a coloring page, the books you need, and the YouTube playlist, and the Pinterest board, and the games, and the shows and videos, additional suggested resources, and then they have copy work to trace, to print in cursive. Then they have the bio page, mapping, and then this is his connection to national parks, which I think is really cool, compare and contrasting themselves to Theodore Roosevelt. And all of the Who Was ones that I looked at follow the same structure. And then timelining. I'm not sure if we'll use this or not. We might, but we've been doing timelining almost like a book of centuries in the back of their notebooks, going from like the back in, like the opposite direction from how we do everything else in the front. But we might actually use these timelines also, like additionally, and put them in their notebooks. So we'll do that one at some point. And then I also got the Who Was Joan of Arc one, because we are going to be studying that time period at some point this school year. And so it follows the same structure, and they're cheap. They're like $5, and it's a really rich study. So that is everything that I got from the Waldock Way and how I plan to use them. I do have a few more things that I want to share with you that we will be using for the month of August. So as far as their independent work, they're not doing a ton during this time of year. While we homeschool year round, we do ebb and flow with the season. So they do more independent work and sort of book work when it is colder here for many months in upstate New York. And when it is nice out and the days are long and we want to be outside as much as possible, we kind of scale back in that area in order to do more real life learning and travel schooling and nature schooling and all of that. And so right now they both have an independent book, at least one that they're working through, and I shared those in a recent haul. So my 15-year-old is reading Sagebrush Surgeon, which is level 11 from The Good and the Beautiful. And my 12-year-old is reading The Story of John J. Audubon, which is a level 7. And I gave them like 2 different options of books to choose from when we were getting ready to go on our trip, so that they had a book with them to read if it rained or in the car or anything like that. And these are the ones they chose. And then I also gave them each a Bible study from the Daily Grace Co. I shared this in a couple hauls back. This one, Growing in Grace, I got for my 12-year-old. And then there's the study of the book of James. I don't know where he put it. I couldn't find it before the video, but he is working through that one. So they will continue with those books and these Bible studies in the month of August. And then my daughter is focusing on her camping journal, my 8-year-old. And then also I gave her the Colored with Grace coloring book from the Daily Grace Co. as sort of like her independent Bible study, because it does really go through scriptures and concepts and things like that about God. And so she's doing that. And that is all I brought for them for like books or academics or independent work, were their Bible studies and their independent reading for my older kids, and then a journal for my 8-year-old. So the only thing that is not here is my 15-year-old's Bible study. So that's all I brought for them. And one thing that I want to say about that is there was so much learning that took place outside of that. So what I think I'm going to do is do a separate travel schooling video, because I don't want this video to get too long, but I also don't want to rush through all of the rich learning experiences that take place. So let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in a travel schooling video, because it's something I've become super passionate about and super interested in, and is definitely going to be a major part of the way that we learn and the way that we homeschool moving forward for at least the next couple of months. So I'll be talking more about it, and I think I will do a video about it. So let me know if you're interested in that. Independent work though, for while we are not traveling, is still lighter this time of year. Like I said, I want them to have more time for self-directed learning and their interests and hobbies and just being outside as much as possible, because we don't live in a place where it is like pleasant to be outside year round. And so what I've been doing with them is, while we're home, I have them do at least one independent core subject a day, and then I'll have them alternate. So I'll let them like decide on Monday, okay, do you want to do math or language arts today? And then I'll have them do that, but they'll do at least one. And the following day I'll say, did you do math or language arts yesterday? I want you to do the other one. And if they really push it and they're like, I really want to do math again because I was getting in a good rhythm, then I'll let them do that. But I try not to make too many days. I try not to let too many days pass until they circle back around to the other subject, just so that they are not getting too, like if they're in the middle of a book in their curriculum or something like that, too much time isn't passing. So throughout this week, they will be focusing on independent work in that way. And then we'll do a light morning time together, which will be like our devotions, and then one of the light unit studies that we've been doing for a while. So I shared with you the things that are new, but then other things that I have on my list for August are things like the Tuttle Twins, Burgess Birds, select lessons from Nature Study Club. So for August, Nature Study Club, it is geology, which we covered quite a bit last year in the fall. So we're not going to do that whole unit study, but I'm going to go through and find things that like we didn't learn, or activities that we would really like that would kind of connect with what we already learned. Like I know that we're going to do like the poetry tea time, and we're going to do the watercolor art tutorial, and maybe one or two of the STEM activities. So we'll pull from Nature Study Club. When I say Tuttle Twins, I shared this in a recent haul. What we have ended up doing with this is starting from the beginning as a way to review what we have learned about American history so far, and then look at it in a different way. So we've just been using it as a read aloud. We still only are like on the second chapter, but we'll jump back into this week. And they've just been timelining. So I just have them timelining some of the things in the back of their notebook for that. As far as science, it's just as simple and gentle, and we are just doing some readings from the weather book, which is something that we started last year and we put down for a while because it just wasn't going along with what we were learning at the time, but we're picking this back up sort of here and there. So as far as like history and science, there's no real curriculum, no formal, I guess, learning going on other than us doing those read alouds together, which I feel like is just as rich, if not more rich than anything else. The Burgess Birds book for children, we will continue to read that. We were doing that along with my notebooking guide that I created. So we will do that. Actually, I have some of the books we use for notebooking right here. So we read the chapter and then the bird or birds that were highlighted in that chapter, they'll do some research and then they'll notebook about them. They'll sketch and watercolor and write things that they learned about the birds. So we'll do some Burgess Birds throughout the month of August. I would say 2 to 4 times. I don't see us doing it more than that with the travel that we have going on and the light academics that we have going on. So for our Bible studies, we're doing My Brother's Keeper, which I recently shared from Not Consumed, and then also their independent Bible studies from the Daily Grace Co. And then the book Created for Work, I'm still reading through with my boys, and we're still reading Mary Slessor from the Christian Heroes Then and Now series. And I also plan to read the Mary Slessor Heroes for Young Readers with my 8-year-old and my older kids once we finish the chapter book version of it. And if you missed it or you forgot about it, I still have that 5-book bundle available through YWAM Publishing. I curated a bundle of 5 of the Heroes for Young Readers picture books, and you can get them at a discounted price for a limited time. So I will make sure to link that down in the description box below if you're interested in that. They are missionary stories. And the Christian Heroes Then and Now books are for older kids because they do deal with some like pretty intense topics. And then they have the younger versions which don't touch so much on those things, but they can still learn about missionaries. So I think that is it. I will probably think of things later that I forgot, and maybe we won't get to some of the things that I did list, but I did want to share with you what our plans are for August. And I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you've used any of these resources, especially the ones from the Waldock Way that I haven't used yet. Let me know what you really liked. Let me know if you have any tips for using them. And I also have an exclusive discount code for you from the Waldock Way that is linked down in the description box below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, comment down below and introduce yourself. I love to get to know you guys. The winner was chosen for my 10K giveaway over on Instagram. I know not all of you are over on Instagram, so those of you that entered over here, I wanted to thank you for entering and to let you know that the winner was chosen, and also to let you know that I've linked For the Love of Homeschooling down below so that if you decide that you do want to purchase the year membership or the lifetime membership, you can still do that. And if you don't want to purchase anything, I don't want you to walk away empty-handed. There are tons of freebies on the website, on the For the Love of Homeschooling website. So I have linked that website down below. You can put freebies in the search bar and all of the freebies will pop up and you can just download them for free. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for entering that giveaway. And if you're not following me already over on Instagram, you can follow me there at rooted_homelife. Don't forget to also follow Jess from the Waldock Way, both here and over on Instagram. I hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. And until next time, stay rooted.